Hello everyone, this is part 21 of my Hocus Pocus dollhouse videos. I did want to talk about my little necklace. I actually made this. It is supposed to be like the one Thackeray Binks is wearing in the movie, so I'll put a little side-by-side picture of these up later. Alright, so now for this video I am going to do some of the little furniture pieces and probably the vines that are climbing up on the outside of the walls or on the outside of the house. This is going to be a little table. These are just pieces I've cut out. Now these pieces I've cut out of cardboard, and I've done this really crude. I mean, I am not like a perfectionist. These are all very crude. There's actually two that are glued together, if you can sort of tell that, and they don't even match perfect, but you know, once I get it all put together and painted, you're not even going to notice it. And actually this side you can't really tell that there are two pieces, but this one you sort of can see the double pieces. But all these parts that are made out of cardboard, except for those, these are all doubled up just to make them a little bit thicker and stronger. These are wood. These are obviously going to be the legs. Let me lay out these little parts the way they're going to be. Alright, so you're going to have your two legs. This piece will go across the top. Now I am just designing this based on what I see in the movie. I'm just trying to make this look like what they actually have in the movie. This piece, I've just cut that little notch out in it, just that little chunk out of the bottom, and then this piece will go in the middle, and that's going to be the side of the table. And then of course I'll make two of those, and then the ends of the table are basically the same thing. I've just got these little same pieces, just shorter, and this is the side of the table, or the ends. And so I'll glue all these parts together, and then for the top of it, it is just a piece of foam board, and I don't know if I'm going to peel the paper off of it or not. I may leave the paper, but I might go in here and scar me some lines just to make it look like boards instead of just one solid piece. So this is just something I've drawn out, or I've just cut these little strips out. I mean, it's super simple, nothing fancy, and I'll try to post a picture of this. Now it's a table that gets a lot of use in the movie. I know it's right there close to the cauldron, and they have a lot of their potions and things sitting on it. And I think even the little bowl that Mary picks up that has the dead man's toe in it, I think she picks it up off this table. And it's in the movie a lot, but you just don't see it real good because they're always standing in front of it. And I know when Thackeray Binks pushes the cauldron, it knocks the girls over, and they fall into that table, and that table falls over when they fall over. And that's the best scene, actually, to see the table, and that's actually where I took a screenshot. So it doesn't really show up good, but I'll still post the picture anyway. And it was really hard getting that screenshot because that scene is so quick. You have to be able to do that right at the right time. So anyways, these are the little pieces, and I'll just glue these together and you'll see how it looks. Alright, so here's how that little table has turned out. I just tacky glued all this together, and I did peel that paper off the top, and I just scarred some little lines down there to look like boards. And I could probably put a little bit more detail in there, like just poke some little holes in it, look like little nail holes or something. And And it'd probably be pretty cool to just take and knock out some little chips in it, because you know some wood board tables would have little nicks in it. So I mean, just put several little details in it. You could just play with that. That's what I like about the foam board. But I also like to paint it with Mod Podge, like the paint mixed with the Mod Podge, because it just helps strengthen it up. Because you know, I'm sure this will last longer than me, but I don't know how long this foam will last. I'm sure it'll last for years, but it's real weak, like when you take that paper off. But with it being such a small piece, it ain't really going to break or do anything. I mean, you'd have to crush it to really break that. And it's got all this support under here, so I mean, it's a pretty strong little table. And then of course I'll paint that later. And now another table that I've done is this one. Now this one is just a little piece of wood. This is actually wood, and I drilled 4 little holes in here to run these legs up through. And the legs are wood, and they're square, but this is such a soft wood that you can actually squeeze it with your pliers and kind of bend it a little, or not really bend it, but just you could squeeze it. Well, hold on, I had to grab my pliers. Now I'm not going to actually squeeze this one, but you can squeeze it and kind of round it, which actually I could probably do that, because I think the legs on this table are supposed to be rounded. So you can actually go in there and squeeze these corners and flatten them a little bit, because it's such a soft wood. So anyways, that's what I did up here to get them to fit in those round holes. And actually I'm going to do that to all the corners, because this is supposed to have rounded legs anyway, so that would look way better. But anyway, I'll do that later. And then I put some little drywall compound up here just to fill in the tops of the holes. And I've got these 3 little holes drilled in the top, because what I'm planning on doing, there are 3 little candlesticks sitting on top of this table, and I've cut little pieces of coat hanger, and I'm just going to stick them down in those holes. I'll glue them in there. And then I've got these black sequins. It's just a little black sequin, and I'm going to use that as the base. So I'm going to take this little pick and I'm going to punch it all the way through and make that hole a little bit bigger, big enough for the coat hanger to go through. So let me see if this works. I'm going to glue that in there, and then that's going to just look like sort of a little base, so it ain't just a straight little stick sticking out of a table. That's just going to kind of give it a little base. Right now it looks kind of like a nail standing upside down on it. But then I'm also, oops, it's going to come all the way out, so I'm just going to make sure I glue it in place. I shouldn't have took that hole all the way through, but I was just wanting it to go through far enough to where it wouldn't, you know, just snap off easy. I just wanted to make sure it was in the table. And then I'm going to take another sequin and punch this hole bigger and put it right at the top, and that's where my little candle will sit. And this might be too tall. I may cut that down a little bit because I don't want it that tall, but this other sequin will be the little cup at the top that you can set a candle on. And then I'll paint this black and age it a little bit. And I picked black sequins just so if the paint scrapes, it'll still look like some type of metal under there. So, oh, and then this one, this is the little curly piece of the coat hanger. And you know, sometimes iron candlesticks can be twisted. So I thought that would be kind of cool looking to have a twisted candlestick. And I'll try to put a picture of this table up on the screen when I get it done, and those little candlesticks. And then this is a bookshelf, or just a little shelf that I built. It's pretty simple, basically like the one I built in the earlier video. It's just a piece of cardboard for the back. The shelves are cardboard, and then the sides and the top are foam board. Oh, and of course I go through there with my stick pins just to really strengthen it up. And I like that little detail of the little head showing. And this is the one, I'm going to turn my camera up. Now back here where I did the mill wheel, this is that shelf that goes back here. And then both these tables actually go on the other side of the house. But and here's that little box I made. I'm actually going to make up some more of these boxes because these look really good. And I'll have to have that little table back here for this to sit on. And then I'll get to make up some little things for that little shelf now. Alright, so here is what I've come up with right now after getting those pieces put together. And I've left a little bit of the coat hanger sticking up above the sequin. That way when I sit the little candle on top of there, it'll just help hold it on. And that'll just give something to glue to. And I'll put a side-by-side picture of this to the real table. And so you can see what the real table looks like. And now of course mine ain't exactly a replica, it's just a much plainer version, but it'll serve the purpose and it'll all come together in the end and look pretty good, I think. But I do love this after I've got it and I'm actually seeing it now. It looks really cool, I think. So I'm just going to paint these black and age the table a little bit. Alright, now before I do the other steps, I just wanted to show how they look now that they're painted. I think they look really cool painted. They look like they're all like one piece now. And I'm really tickled with how they've turned out. Alright, so first I'm going to talk about this piece. Now we've already seen this, but you can sort of tell back in the back it's got a lighter color. That is actually these little chalk things that I found. I just kind of rubbed them across here and then took a dry paintbrush and just spread that around in here just to make it look kind of dusty. So I like how that looks on this. And now the things I've made this week, here's how this little shelf turned out. And I've just painted this with a couple colors of brown. Well, I actually just painted it brown and then I went over it with like the black wash. I didn't even paint the whole back. I just left it cardboard just because, I mean, it's going to be against the wall. And I just thought people one day can see how it's made. I don't know, some people would be freaking out that I didn't finish that on the back, but I don't mind it not being finished on the back. I just kind of like showing what it is. But I love how that looks. This one's real wood, this one's cardboard and foam board, and they turned out looking really good. Can't even tell the difference really. Even looking at them in real life, me looking at them right here, I wouldn't know that that's cardboard. Now the other piece was this little table. Now this is the one that sits there close to the cauldron. This is all, the legs are the wood, and I don't really know why I'm explaining. I mean, I've done showed what they're made out of, but anyway, that's how that one's turned out. I really like the top of it. And then when I show them to you here, I'm just, well first, I went over this with the chalk too, and you can sort of see that white, powdery, dusty stuff. That's that chalk. And it don't stay, it probably won't stay forever, but it stays pretty good. I mean, it'll stay there. as long as you don't like rub it too hard. But it'll collect real dust anyway, so that'll be cool. And I'll show me putting all these in the house here in a little bit. And then here's this little table with those candles. I don't know if the candles show up as good against my hand or not. Need something darker to, oh, you can sort of see them there better. Oh, and I put that little wick in there too, if you can see that little wick. Now that wick is, let me find my thread real quick. Alright, now the thread is this old antique thread. Can't tell if that's sharp or showing up, but it's like a really old thread, and you can sort of see it's glossy. It says 100% cotton. Well, don't say 100% cotton, but it says cotton, but it feels really waxy. I don't know what it is, and it just makes a perfect little wick for these candles that I make. And so if you do make candles like I do with straws, make sure you get a little bit of a thicker black thread, because just a regular cotton thread is, well, that'll work too. I mean, I've used just a modern thread, but I don't know what this old thread is. It just feels like it's covered in a wax or something. But I really like how that turns out for wicks, better than just the thinner, skinnier thread. And then this is a little chair that I've already had. Now this was a really light color. This was actually out in my flower garden, and it had faded in the sun. And it originally was about this color, and so I just kind of watered down some black paint and some brown paint, and just sort of stained it back to its original color. So it just kind of goes with all this better. And then here's that little gear for the mill wheel. It looks really good now. I went over it with, I just painted it brown, but then I went over it with the black watered down paint, and that made it really look better, more antique. And I guess that's it. So I'll place these in the house, and then there's a couple other little miniatures that I've picked up recently that I'll show you. Alright, now one thing I'll show is I went over this with the black watered down wash just to age that too. And anytime you age stuff, it just makes it look better. Well, I guess if you're doing a real clean modern house, you don't really need to make things dirty looking, but in something like this, it really looks better. And then here's that little shelf that I made to go back here. And then I'll have to work in this little gear later. And then I could sit my little skull back here on the shelf. And I'll have to really fill that shelf up with some bottles and things. And then there's my little picture of Winifred. But I really love how that looks, and it just really filled that space up. And so now we'll go to the other side and fill the other side up. Alright, that's a pretty good angle. I've been trying to get a good angle of the whole room, but I made this little purple bag. I got to put a handle on it, and it's going to hang back here at the fireplace, because there's a scene where they put Binks in a little purple bag. And then this little bed warmer, that's something else that I've recently got. I can't remember if I showed that before. Here's that little rake that I've made earlier. And then here's this shelf again. This is the one with Winifred on the back, and I took some of that little chalk stuff and made this shelf look a little dusty. And I did go with the black watered down paint and age these little pieces. So that goes back in this corner. And I'll sit something on top of that later on. And then here's this piece, and I took that black watered down paint and dulled this stuff down too, so it's not so shiny and neat looking. And then of course there's that other really noticeable piece in the movie, that furniture piece. It's like a table with some shelves across the top that'll sit back here on this wall. And then here's another little shelf I'd made a while back just out of the foam board, and I dustied that up with some of that chalk, and it sits back here in this area. We'll have to fill all these little shelves up, so I'm going to have to do some major bottle making and maybe some little books and things. And then, you know, for some reason I'm not liking my cauldron. I feel like it's a little too fat or something. I don't know. I shouldn't use that word, but I don't know how else to say it. It's not really too big, but it needs to be a little more squatty or something. I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know. I like it, but I'm not loving it, so I'm going to have to figure something out. And then anyways, there's that little table. It might just be hanging too high. I'm not sure what the deal is. I might know better once I get the dolls in here and see how tall they are to it. And then that little table will sit there. And my little chair. I need to make at least 3 more chairs, because they've got a whole they've got chairs sitting around this table, but they're all different. No two are alike, and that's what I kind of like about their furniture. That's kind of how my house is. We got a lot of little mix and match pieces. This little pewter, or not pewter, but copper bowl is something I've recently found. So I'll age it up sometime, but I'll just sit that up there. And then this little cauldron, this is a new piece I've just found. It's actually made out of pewter, I think. So that's really cool. I'll just sit it back in the back. And then here's my little bowl of fingers and little body parts. And then there's got to be like a tall candle thing standing right here beside this table that I'll have to make later on. And then I could sit my little plates. Now a lot of these plates are going to sit on this piece of furniture that I make for back here. But until I get it made, I'm just going to stack them on the table there. And then these are the 3 plates that I had made. One thing I like better about my plates versus these store-bought plates, mine look like pewter and these look like silver. So I want to either paint these with my pewter paint or just dull them down, because I don't really want silver. I like pewter for this time period. And of course, my favorite little prop I've made. There's my little spell book. And I wish y'all could see this in real life. I'm really proud of how this turned out. It's super cute. And there's just so much more detail to it to notice in real life, it seems like. And then there's Winifred's mirror. Now when you're seeing her at the very beginning of the movie, right when they turn themselves younger, she's standing there looking in a little mirror like this. So I'm going to sit that there on the table. And again, here's that little Binks that I'd showed before. I didn't know if I wanted to use this little cat or make one, but I think I am going to go ahead and just use him. But I do later on, I'm going to do a little video where I'm going to change out the eyes and give him better looking eyes. So we'll work on him later too. But there's the little things I've made this week. And it's really starting to fill up, and that's what I really need, is to really fill this up, because you know, in the movie there's just so much going on, and it's really looking good. I'm really tickled with everything. But I guess that's all for this week, other than working on the vines. I'll work on the vines on the outside of the house too, so I guess I'll start working on that now. Alright, so before I go on to the vines, I was going to glue this piece down, but it doesn't have a flat bottom, and I didn't want to try to put just a tiny little ring of glue around this edge, because I knew it would show. Like if I glued it and sat it down, that glue would kind of ooze out, and I don't really want that to show. So to give this a flat bottom, I've just cut a little piece of foam board, and that just happens to fill that up perfectly to where it's flat now. And it doesn't have to fill the whole circle, but just enough to give this a flat bottom. So I'll glue that in there, and then that will give me something to glue to without trying to get, you know, glue around that edge. So that's just something, if you ever have something you want to glue down that doesn't have a flat bottom, you can just fill that little bottom up with cardboard or whatever you find. This foam board just happened to fit perfect, so that'll help me glue that down easier than having to just try to get a tiny little bead around that little lip there. Alright, so there I've got that little piece glued in there and got some glue on it, and that way I can just glue it right up in here. And you won't have to worry about getting glue around that little bitty edge. And then of course once that dries, that won't be going anywhere. So I just thought of that. I'm always thinking of little things like that, of ways to get things glued in to where you don't really have to see the glue. Alright, now for this vine going up the side, I've got this, which came in a roll, and it looks pretty cool, but I don't know if that's really what I like or not. Now I can weave it around and make it look like it's creeping up, but I just don't think, I think this is going to look good. I'm not sure if this is going to look best. See, I can bend it to go where I want it to go. I think that would look really good, but I'm not sure. And then I've got this, which also looks really good, and this is just in little, I'd have to pull this off in little pieces and just glue that on. So that looks good too, and I can just add these, overlap them. I'm just not sure which one I like, or if I should just mix. I don't know if the vines were all one kind or what. And then I've got this. Now this one's got a little bit of a bigger leaf, and then this one looks more like, I don't know what it looks like, but this one looks pretty good too. So I've got these three things here. I'm just not really sure what I want to use. I probably wouldn't use that berry part. I'd probably leave that off, but I don't know if I like this one as much. But unless, like I said, unless I do like a little mixture, whatever I decide to use, I'm going to hot glue it. Whoops, actually just laid that on my hot glue gun. Oh my gosh, wait a minute. Okay. So, I'm not sure. I feel like a mixture might be the best. I don't really know. I'm just going to have to keep staring at it, holding things up. I don't know if I want to use this one. I think it would look good. The leaf of it don't look as real. I just ain't loving the leaf that's on it. I may just not use that one and just go with these two. And if I do use this one, I'll probably pull some of these bigger leaves so they're not so big, and just use the tip of it where it's a little smaller. So I guess I'll use these two kinds, and not use this garland piece, because I feel like the garland, I just don't like the leaf on it. It just looks funny. They're too flat. There's no detail to them. I don't know. I mean, I like it, but after I found this at my house, I thought, well, I'd rather use this. Okay, so my other camera just cut off right when I was saying something. But anyway, what I was going to say is I didn't even know if I'd want to do any vines at all, because I like how the house looks, but I really think it does need some vines. So I'm going to start these, but I may actually start on the other side, on the back, just in case if I hate it, I won't have to do the front part, you know, just in case if it don't look good. But I think it will look good, so I'll still probably start on the back though. Alright, so I didn't start at the back. I was just getting too excited and I just started gluing. So what I've done is like, I did start at the top with these bigger pieces, and then I do take the bottom leaf off because they're just a little bit big, and then I even snip off this little end, that big end out here on the bottom. I just cut that off, and I may even take some out just randomly up through here so it ain't so full and it looks a little more natural. And then just glue it right onto the side using hot glue. And I really love how it looks. I kind of thought I would, so that's why I just started doing it. And then I'm going to make sure I glue every little piece down. I like how the house looks in pictures. I just hope this doesn't make it look kind of fakey, which, I mean, it don't look that real anyway, but I mean, still, I hope it still looks good. And then I'm going to take some of this other kind that's got a different leaf, and I'm just going to pull little pieces off of it like this, and then just glue those back in there behind the other parts, just to make it look like it's the same plant but just a smaller piece. It's just starting to bud, and just to give it some depth or some better texture. So I think it looks cool, and then it seems like the more I'm getting on it, the better it's looking. And just always cut those little pieces off. This is those little pieces where it actually sticks to the wire stem. And I just want to cut that off so it's got a sharper little tip on it. And then pull some of these off, just so all the pieces don't go into a point, just so they all look a little different. And the hot glue's getting hotter, so I've got to be real careful getting that on my fingers. So I'll just keep gluing all this on till I get it as covered as I want it. And I may have to look at the pictures because I don't know if it goes all the way over into here or not. I might just kind of keep it here on this corner, and then go around the front just a little bit. I don't want to put too much on the front, but I'll work on this, and once I get it covered I'll come back and we'll check it out. Alright, so here is what I've got done so far. Now I've actually used all that I had of this kind of greenery, so I think it's pretty full. It's as full as I really want it. I could probably put more, but I think it looks good as it is, so I'm just going to leave it like it is. Now I do have a lot of little pieces like this that I could just add a little bit of glue to the end of it, and then just tuck it in here like that. And I don't know if this is showing up, but these little glue hairs, I think you can see those. They're getting all over the place, and I'm actually going to leave those. Those look like spider webs. They're stretching down all over right here, and I love them coming across the steps because I know You know, when you're watching the movie, you can see a lot of spider webs outside, so I really like how that looks. And of course they won't last forever. I'll end up getting them knocked down moving it around, but I'm going to leave them for now. Hopefully when I take pictures they will show up. But I've even came on around to this other half, and I didn't think I would end up using all of it, but there just wasn't as much as I thought, but it just happened to be enough to do it. So I'm going to take these last few little pieces and finish popping them in places where I feel like it could be a little fuller. And I do have a bunch of this kind left, but I don't want to do a whole lot of that one. I'm just going to mainly stick with the kind I've got on there. But I will take little pieces of this kind and just glue them in here. But now I'll take a few pictures of it, and later on I've still got to put some moss down here on the rocks, and I may even go over these leaves a little bit with some color, just so they have a variant, different like changing colors across here, you know, in some spots, maybe some darker, some lighter. So I'll play with it some more when I start doing more details. But I like how it turned out. I like it a lot better than I thought I was going to.